first ever episode of Truly Outrageous Lies, coming to you this evening from Travelling Man, Manchester. This is the comedy improv panel show of tall tales, fabulous fiction and absolute truths. On our panel tonight we have Rod Tame. Rod is a part-time poet and actor, but full-time work-shy fop. Del has been using her pathological lying skills in the form of acting for a while in Manchester, and she is a presenter on Truly Outrageous's Brave New Words. And Chris Bowles. Chris is an award-winning playwright, poet and natural white blonde. The rules of the game are utterly straightforward. A panel member is given a story prompt by the host, that's me. They have 3 minutes to tell their story. At any point, another panellist may buzz in to challenge the story with another story element. You get a point for an amusing challenge. I decide if the panellist has to incorporate their challenge into their story. If they do, they get further points for successfully adding elements of the challenge. When there are only 30 seconds left, you will hear a bell. And after that, no more challenges are allowed. The panellist then wraps up their story and 2 rings signify that time is up. Scoring is based on a super secret blend of 13 herbs and spices. And we begin tonight with Rod.
Oh no, okay.
Whose prompt is: the day I kidnapped beloved Doctor Who star Peter Davison.
Am I off? Am I away?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because I did do that actually. I was stalking him. Stood outside his house disguised as a cow from Last of the Summer Wine. Not Last of the Summer Wine, All Creatures Great and Small, which was a veterinary show which he starred in many years ago, and I thought he wouldn't notice me. So anyway, I was taking photos, for the collection, the Doctor Who photo collection, when I realised that a window was open. I realised that maybe there was a chance here to also add something to my Doctor Who underwear collection. This, of course, is not underwear that has pictures of Doctor Who on. This is underwear that belongs to former Doctor Who's. So I crept up the path, disguised as a cow, up to the house, managed to find my way into the building. Yes?
Del.
But didn't Rod have a friend with him who was the other half of said cow?
That's a very good point, Del, yes. Rod, tell us about the friend you had with you who was the other half of the cow.
Oh, what, my Doctor Who fan friend, Phil. Well, yeah, he was the bottom of the cow. He wasn't particularly happy about that, and so he did get left behind in the garden as well, actually, just to keep watch, just in case anybody came along. So I crept into the house, quietly, looking around the house, trying to find, Doctor Who-related wear, when I entered a room to find Peter Davison stood there, back to me, dressed up as the 5th Doctor, eating a stick of celery, with a cricket bat laying on the side. All of a sudden I realised that I had a chance to get the ultimate prize for a Doctor Who collection, a Doctor himself. So I picked up the bat, and not too hard, because, I didn't want to kill him, whacked him around the head, so he was knocked out. And luckily found a Dalek prop with wheels that I could strap him to in order to then wheel him out of the house and back out to Phil, where we then donned the cow costume again and wheeled the Dalek with Peter Davison on it down the road.
Del.
I'd be interested to how people reacted to a cow wheeling a Dalek.
Do you know, they were quite surprised.
I would too. Tell us more about the cow winning the Dalek, Rod.
I mean, the policeman was a little bit awkward, but, a bribe got us out of that one. So, yes, we carried on back down the road. There's Peter Davison strapped to a Dalek. Well, the 5th Doctor strapped to the Dalek. And then we finally get back to my house, where we unstrap him from the Dalek. But then there's a bit of a surprise, because when I took the cricket hat off of him, turned out it wasn't Peter Davison at all. It was David Tennant. Turns out he'd snuck into his father-in-law's house to dress up as the 5th Doctor. So he wasn't very happy about it all, really. But he's in my downstairs cupboard now, so you know.
So after party it was then,
yeah? And we now move on to Del, whose prompt is: the day I unexpectedly joined the animals of Farthingwood.
Ooh.
So, I have a pet rabbit called Hartley, and I don't know if people know this, but rabbits are actually a lot further advanced than we are. My rabbit can see L-space, for example. And he decided he wanted to go on a pilgrimage to follow the animals of Farthingwood. So he got in his time and rabbit dimensions in space and went along to see what was going on. And I was getting increasingly more and more worried about these antics he was telling me about. And then it was when he sent me an Instagram of...
Lord!
What antics was he telling you about?
Well, on the pilgrimage not on the pilgrimage, but on the journey of the animals of Farthingwood, there was motorway crossings where Mr. and Mrs. Hedgehog unfortunately passed away because he curled up. Don't curl up, he curled up. Mrs. Pigeon died, and then Mr. Pigeon saw his wife roasted on the farmer's windowsill, and he was crying so much he doesn't see the farmer shoot him. I'd love...
Did any of these animals have like psychological treatment for this?
This is why I was a bit concerned, because when Hartley sent me the Instagram of the baby mice on the ramble thorns that the butcher bird had put them on, I thought that I should probably intervene, so he came to get me. And what you don't realise is, if you watch the documentaries of the animals of Farthingwood again, I'm in them, but I'm such a good actor that you don't notice that I'm not just a rabbit. And I realised very quickly that all of the animals are in various stages of the Kubler-Ross change curve.
Yes.
Did you have to undergo any method training to become a rabbit?
I didn't, because I have one and I've always been studying his behaviour. And so, yeah, there was already a backlog of information that I could use. Yes.
How did you source a convincing costume?
I didn't need one.
Oh.
Because Hartley gave me a key from the time and rabbit dimensions in space that had a perception filter on it.
Oh.
So that's why you've not really
Fancy.
noticed me, but if you watch again now you know I'm there. And I realised, yes, that all the animals were in various stages of the Kubler-Ross change. Some of them were still in complete denial, such as Molly, who was very in denial. Badger kept flitting between depression and experimentation, and it was all very difficult. And then we got to White Deer Park, and I helped with the negotiations between the animals of Farthingwood and the animals of White Deer Park, and mediated between Scarface and his wife. And Fox and Badger, and then winter came and hibernation set in, so that was a thoroughly quiet time, but then eventually winter went away. Unfortunately, Molly had passed away while he was hibernating, and I helped Badger through the last stages of his dementia, and then realised that actually the animals were okay, and that they'd learnt enough and experienced enough now that they could make their own decisions and didn't need us anymore. So me and Hartley got back in time, rabbit dimensions in space, came home, and I can confirm that this is entirely true.
And the last person for this particular episode is Chris,
Oh, good lord.
whose prompt is: my time as an Egyptian god.
Okay, so I was a god in Egypt, you know, like rugs, sand, wine, money. Can I say bitches? Bitches. And yeah, it was all good because, you know, like all Egyptian gods, I had the head of an animal, and I was the incarnation of Bast, who is the cat-headed god, because, you know, she's sassy, she's lovely. She's the god of, amongst many things, joy, life, and dance. So, you know, throwing all kinds of wicked shapes during all the weird kind of, like, you know, parties, those banging parties that we had down in Cairo, like washing in the River Nile, and stuff. Sand got everywhere, but it was cool because it was worth it. It was a time of like peace and slavery and death penalties and things. It was all good. I really enjoyed it. I've never enjoyed sand quite so much as to when I'm digging it out of.
Save us all, please.
I'd be interested to know what Chris's favourite bit that he enjoyed so much was.
I liked eating food out of bowls because cats are really into that kind of thing.
What sort of food would that have been?
Fish mostly, because the River Nile, like overflowing all the time. We lost 3 kids last summer. It was really sad. But yeah, I ate them too. Nothing quite washes down trout like the corpses of desiccated children. But
I wish I hadn't asked that.
So yeah, in between Vogue sessions, like, Egyptian Vogue is terror fun, by the way. Like that's all kinds of crazy shapes. You think like the American Vogue is just like Egyptians have the whole kind of weird angular thing going on. It's lovely, but it's really difficult. Kills your neck.
But tell us about Egyptian Cosmo.
Egyptian what?
Cosmo. As opposed to Egyptian Vogue.
I don't know what non-Egyptian Cosmo is. As a gay man, this is really terrible. So I imagine it's like how it normally is, but with more arm movement. And sand and slavery and fish and whipping and children and things. Yeah.
I'd be interested to know what else there is in Egypt apart from slavery and sand and fish.
Sun. Lots of sun, like not a cloud in the sky, if you will, which is why the parties were so decent. Or indecent, as the case may be. But yeah, so basically the long and short of it is I ate a lot of children, had a lot of fun, dug a lot of sand out, got quite drunk and lost 7 of my lives in a tussle with that weird snake god whose name I can't remember right now. It'll come back to me when I'm next drunk.
Thank you. And at the end of our first episode, our points are as follows. Surprisingly, in third place is Rod with 7 points.
Ooh.
In second place, with quite a lot of desiccated sand, is Chris with 9 points. And winning with some, frankly, horrific tales of animal deaths is Del with 10 points.
Oh, so close.
Well done.
Thank you for joining us on the first ever episode of Truly Outrageous Lies. On our panel tonight, we've had Chris Bowles, we've had Del, and we've had Rod Tame. And I've been Anne-Louise Fortune. We'll hopefully see you next time.
Yay!